Hello there, here with a video. One that I've been umming and ahhing about doing for a while, and I thought, I've already done two, technically three videos on Now and Then. Don't want to do a fourth, so I thought, yeah, why not? Because we got a new Beatles song last year, not that I've ever mentioned it. But I thought what I would do is compare it to the other two Threetle reunion singles and then sort of rank them, because I've never actually reviewed Free as a Bird and Real Love on this channel. So I'm going to do that today. So I have my opinions out there. Compare Now and Then to them, since I know technically Now and Then is separate, but I also see it as the same thing, because obviously Now and Then was originally intended for Anthology 3, but it got left off. We'll go into all that in a minute. But yeah, so the first thing, we'll go at the background of these reunion singles. So I suppose it all begins in the into the late 70s, when John Lennon was recording some demos onto some cassettes that he had, and he recorded 4 songs that the Beatles would end up with, which was Free as a Bird, Real Love, Now and Then, and Grow Old With Me. Now, when they came to work on the Beatles anthology, which had been a project that had dated all the way back to the 70s, had been trying to get it working, and it wasn't until the mid-90s where they finally had it all together. But obviously by that point John was no longer there. So they wanted some sort of climax, something that would really get people interested, and I think the original idea would be there'd be a new song that Paul and George would write, and as far as I know, I think that's actually been recorded, but it's never been released, so it's out there somewhere. Maybe someday we'll get it. But what happened was, then I think it was George was talking to Yoko, and she said that she had some unreleased John Lennon songs, some unfinished ones. So they decided that they would work on these and see if they could get new Beatles songs, effectively reunion singles. So then in '94, when Paul was inducting John into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, after the ceremony, Yoko handed over the tapes to Paul, these cassettes, and they got to work on it. Now, originally George Martin was asked to produce them. He would be the logical one, since he'd produced all the other Beatles songs, but his hearing had gone by this point and he didn't feel he could do a good job. So instead, we got Jeff Lynne, who was obviously he's obviously in the ELO, but he was also in the Travelling Wilburys with George, and he'd produced Cloud 9 with George. I think he'd worked with Ringo as well, but at this point he'd never worked with Paul. So I think Paul was maybe a bit apprehensive at first about Jeff Lynne, but thankfully he was all right. He did good, and Paul came round to him. Now, he had to prepare the cassettes at the time to make them usable, because at the end of the day these were never intended by John to see the light of day. And the Beatles got to work on the first song, which would be, I would put it on the bottom, Free as a Bird. So this one is arguably the most Beatlesy, I would say, of the 3 singles, because this song wasn't finished. All it really had was a chorus. And then there was a verse that was kind of finished, but it wasn't quite there. So I think Paul maybe wrote a bit of the song to finish it off, flesh it out. And then Paul obviously sings the verse, and then George also sings it later in the song. There's guitar solo from George. Yeah, it's just through and through a Beatles song. And I think of the singles, this is the most Beatles sounding, the most traditional Beatles sounding one, just because it wasn't quite finished, so they had more freedom to do with what they want with this one. Now, at the time it peaked at number 2 in the charts. I can't remember what held it off in '94, but you know, that's not bad going for a band where one of their members is dead. They hadn't been together since 1970, and getting to number 2 in the charts in '94. I really should have researched what beat it. But yeah, Free as a Bird, I think it's a decent song. I don't think it's the best song that the Beatles have ever done. It never, you know, it never goes on to compilation albums. But yeah, it's a decent song. And it was also the opening track on Anthology 1. So after Anthology 1 came out, they got to work on the next single, which would be the opening track on Anthology 2. This one was the song Real Love. Now, Real Love here it is, came out in, I think it was March '95. Free as a Bird was December '94, I think. But Real Love was a bit different, because This song was much closer to being finished. In fact, I'm quite surprised that John Lennon never released this song on Double Fantasy, because it could have easily been a big single for him, I think. But yeah, this song, it's properly structured. John has got the complete set of lyrics. It's got 3 verses, it's got a bridge, it's got a chorus, it's got it all. So all the others, so I think Paul, George and Ringo felt like they were sort of like John's backing band on this one. They didn't feel quite as involved as they did on Free as a Bird. But yeah, this song got to number 4 as well in the charts. It was a bit controversial because Radio 1 refused to put it on their playlist at the time. Which Paul in particular didn't take a good liking to. I don't think that would be the sole reason it was held off number 1. And number 4 still isn't bad. But yeah, Real Love, personally I think this is a better song than Free as a Bird. I know even last year Ringo said in an interview about Now and Then, when they were talking about these singles, that Free as a Bird is a better song than Real Love, which I don't agree with. I think Real Love is a superior song. And yeah, I'll rank them all at the end, but Real Love, really good song. And then we come on, of course, I'll be a bit quicker with this one, to Now and Then, the 3rd song, because this was to be the opening track on Anthology 3, and yeah, it was a bit, this is it here by the way, awkward for them because the sound quality on the cassette wasn't up to standard and they were struggling, so they spent I think 2 days working on it before George got fed up and had enough, so they abandoned it, and that was it. It sort of just got left on the cutting room floor. Anthology 3 didn't open with a new song, and it wasn't until 2023 when this song finally seen the light of day, thanks to Peter Jackson's AI technology that had been used on the Beatles' Get Back project. Now and Then could finally be finished. They could strip John's vocals away from the piano. It could improve the quality greatly. And yeah, Paul and Ringo could finally finish it. They had to obviously use George's guitar work from those 95 sessions. And we got this, the final Beatles song, which came out November 23 and got to number 1, which is still a remarkable achievement that a Beatles song, a brand new Beatles song came out in 2023 and it went to number 1. I mean, how many bands can do that? But the song itself, this one is probably the most clear sounding. It's technologically probably the best sounding song because of obviously the modern technology. They didn't have that with Free as a Bird and Real Love. And I've said it before and I'll say it again quickly, but I don't for the life of me understand why they haven't remixed Free as a Bird and Real Love alongside this, so that they use that Peter Jackson technology on John's voice on Free as a Bird and Real Love, because it would greatly enhance them tracks. I don't get why they weren't done, why they've just been left. Although both those songs were remixed back in 2015 for the OnePlus video thingy that came out. The music videos, when they got remastered, they had new mixes of Free as a Bird and Real Love, which do sound superior to the ones that came out in the 90s, but they've never been properly released other than on their music videos. If you watch the music videos for Free as a Bird and Real Love on YouTube, they have remixed versions of the songs, which do sound better. John's voice is a lot clearer, but now that we have this AI technology, they could clear it up even more than they could in 2015. But yeah, Now and Then as a song, my issue I still have with this is the fact that the I Don't Want to Lose You bit was removed. Now, Free as a Bird and Real Love, nothing was removed from them. They stayed true to what John had originally recorded. And alright, they added to Free as a Bird, but that was, nothing's been added on here. They've just removed. They've removed a complete section of the song. Arguably, if you've heard the demo, the most distinct part of the song was removed from this one. But it also works. It sounds good. The lyrics on the bridge that was removed, that I Don't Want to Lose You part, it didn't sound complete. It wasn't complete, so Paul would have to write more lyrics, and obviously now Paul is 80 and his voice singing a lead vocal on this, I don't know if it would have worked that well. It sounds fine on Free as a Bird because his voice still sounded alright back then. But on here, I think I don't know if that's maybe part of the reason why it was removed. But anyway, we have these 3 singles. Free as a Bird, Real Love, and Now and Then. There they all are. And how do I rank them? Well, that's interesting because I don't know if this is maybe going to be controversial, but in third place, I would personally put Free as a Bird. Yes, it sounds the most Beatlesy, but as a song, I don't think there's a lot to it really. All John really had was the Free as a Bird chorus. You know, the whatever happened to the life that we once knew. Alright, yeah, it's alright. Paul had to finish it off, but that's about, there's not a lot here really. Yeah, alright, it's got all of them are on top form, Paul, George and Ringo, and it's a decent enough song, but I just don't think it's anything special, to be honest. Then in number 2, I would put Now and Then, personally. It's a great song. I do think this is genuinely, and it is good as the last Beatles song because it's quite an emotional song. Yeah, like I've said, I do kind of wish the bridge had been left in. I kind of can see why it was removed, but personally, being a big fan and knowing the demo for years, I still miss it not being there. But yeah, I'd put that number 2, which leaves, of course, for number 1, Real Love. It's about the only finished song. At the end of the day, these 3 were all unfinished songs technically, but Real Love was the closest to being finished. It had a full set of lyrics, like I say. And it's just a happy song. It's a jolly, upbeat song. I like everything about this song. It is one of my favourite Beatles songs, and of the 3 reunion singles, it is... Reunion, I should use that word loosely. It is by far the one I listen to the most because I think it's the best of them. So, yeah, I think that's all I've got to say for this today. What's your thoughts? How would you rank them? Which would you say is the best? I don't think any of them are bad songs. I think they're all, I'd rather, you know, I'm pleased we've got them. I just think Real Love is the best, regardless of what Ringo says, because it was finished more or less, so they didn't have to do as much with it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you very soon. Goodbye.